This podcast is brought to you in part by Coke, Am First, Buffalo Wild Wings, Southern Immediate Care, Central State Bank, and Guaranteed Labels.
Hey, it's Bubba, hey, Bubba, Bubba on the lake. This is Bubba, hey, Bubba on the lake. Yeah, he's got it going on. Gotta come and check this. Talking people, talking places from Bubba's perspective. This is Bubba, hey, Bubba on the lake. Hey, Bubba, yeah, Bubba on the lake. Let's go.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm your semi-retired, mostly washed-up host, formerly of the Rick and Bubba Show, Bill Bubba Bussey, and welcome to Bubba on the Lake. We have got an outstanding show for you. As I record this, it is my birthday, so I'm feeling very special, sitting here in the Mellow Yellow studio. And we're very excited to be here. I feel very blessed to be here as we have now completed the 61st time that we have orbited our local star we call the sun. And I appreciate all the birthday wishes today. It has been a bit overwhelming, but it is so good to hear from everybody. And we're just glad to be here for another round. And, you know, as a believer, we think and we believe to die is to gain. But as long as we're here, we want to live life to the fullest. And thank goodness we've been able to do that and hope to continue doing that. The website for the program is bubbaonthelake.com. A lot of information there. You can get information on the episodes. You can see the sponsors. You can check in on our contest of our bracket for March Madness that's going on. And don't forget, please, to subscribe, like, turn on notifications. We don't want you to miss anything from the show. We want you to get a gentle, friendly reminder when a new edition comes out so you can catch it. Because we publish these whenever we get done with them. I know a lot of podcasts like to publish at a certain day or time, and that's fine. But as we discuss things that are happening like current events, we have to publish when we get done with the podcast because some of that becomes dated if we don't. So we hope you understand that. Also, follow us on Instagram, on Bubba on the Lake. And I hate to keep bringing these up, but they are very important. The algorithms that rank podcasts and help us to get advertisers to support the podcast so we can keep doing it. All of that is generated by your likes on social media, your likes of the podcast, how long you listen. I mean, they've got so many analytics, it will make your head spin. But all of that is important. This is the New World Order, so to speak. And we want to keep everybody engaged. And if you want to see the podcast grow, if you want to see more episodes, if you want to see video become a part of it, we've got to grow these numbers. So we appreciate it. We thank our advertisers who are making it possible. And we always tell you to support them if at all possible. And at the very least, let them know that you appreciate them being a part of Bubba on the Lake. Well, we've got a special show. Dr. Travis Taylor from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch will be making a special birthday appearance on the podcast. Also, my daughter Katelyn, our high-spirited child, will be here. She said she wants to interview me on my birthday. So none of us really know what that's going to look like. We will learn together. Thank you for being there. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Travis Taylor from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and you do not want to miss a minute of that. You're listening to Bubba on the Lake.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We'll be right back.
This is Coke Zero Sugar. Could I be the best Coke ever? Try and taste with your ears. Hear those bubbles? Imagine them tingling on your tongue. Fizzy deliciousness. Listen to that cascading liquid. A mouth-watering waterfall. Irresistibly tasty. Zero sugar. Crisp, refreshing, and ice cold. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try and decide.
At Central State Bank, we believe community banking is more than just transactions. It's about relationships. For over 100 years, we've been helping neighbors grow, businesses thrive, and dreams become reality. Because when you bank local, you invest in your community. Central State Bank, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Visit us today or learn more at centralstatebank.com. Member FDIC.
It's Bubba on the Lake. Bubba on the Lake.
Well, we're very glad to have back on the podcast, the first time on this podcast, Bubba on the Lake, astrophysicist Dr. Travis Taylor. Travis, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, Bubba. How you doing?
Well, I know we are intruding on your vacation a little bit, but we appreciate you taking time to talk to us. And how is the vacation going? Let me ask you that right out of the gate.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. The vacation is going great. It's just we left the girls at home, and it's just me and my son, so we're batching it this week, and we're eating all the stuff that Mama won't let us eat.
Oh, so Oreos and ice cream and all that stuff.
Yep, cereal every morning for breakfast.
I love it. I love it. Well, for those of you that don't know Dr. Travis Taylor, he is a doctor of astrophysicist. He's got enough degrees to paper the room. We won't go into all of that. You know him from Rocket City Rednecks, Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. And Travis, you've been on 100 things. You most notably, though, and what we're going to talk about today is Skinwalker Ranch, headed into the 6th season. And of course, too, you were on the government secret UAP program. That was one of my favorite seasons when you had not told any of the guys you're working with because it was top secret. And then that story broke, and they were all giving you funny looks.
Yeah, I couldn't tell them, because it wasn't that it was secret that we were on it, but the direction from the government was not to identify who was on the task force. And so we couldn't put it in our email headers or anything. And when I finally told the guys, when they gave us permission, and I finally told the guys that Dragon took it a little worse than the others, because he's like, well, you didn't trust us enough to tell me, and I'm like, and Thomas actually he said, well, if he told us, he'd have got fired or gone to prison or something.
Yeah, that's so what top secret means, right?
Yeah, they got it. They got it. And honestly, Brandon, the owner of the ranch, he said, well, this just validates more what we're doing is real. That we've got someone that has worked on programs and projects like that. That's part of our, the Skinwalker Ranch team.
Travis, you are heading into your 6th season, which is incredible in the TV business, by the way. Are you shocked at how long this has gone on? Did you anticipate it being this big of a hit and carrying on this long?
Well, I got to tell you, when they first told me the idea for the show, and I was going to meet these guys, I thought, well, we're going to get out there and it's just going to be this ranch and there's not going to be anything. And there's not, how can you make a show out of this? Right. But then getting there and realizing that whatever's going on there is some kind of real phenomena. And so it's continued to deliver mysteries, unsolvable, weird stuff. And so I'm mostly surprised by that. But the fact that the general public seems to really like the show, I think it just shows that we all want to know what's going on in the universe. And this is the first time anything real has been put in front of people in a way that they can see it as it's happening.
Travis, that's what draws me to the show, because there's been a lot of other shows and they have eyewitness accounts and all that's fine. But you guys are producing hard scientific evidence that is documented on this TV show that strange things are going on. I mean, we see test after test after test that provide solid evidence that something's going on, even though you don't know completely what it is. But, so many of the shows, and I don't mean to get on them, but I mean, like some of these Bigfoot hunters, they hear a noise in the woods and they think, well, this is that Sasquatch or that Sasquatch. But it's nothing scientific. It's nothing solid. You guys are producing that. Tell us a little bit about some of the technology, because that's what I really love, is all the gadgets you guys use to capture this data?
Yeah, well, we use everything we can afford and grab our hands on and cobble together, beg, borrow, and steal, because if we were really funded well to do this project, we'd have a $10 million a year budget, or at least a several $1 million a year budget, but we don't. We've got less than $1 million of engineering budget. And in fact, I think, I'm not supposed to tell you the exact number, but we've had probably $500,000 a year, something like that, for engineering budget. Now, the camera people and all that are paid for out of a different pot. So you could kind of add that and say, well, it is a bigger effort because of documentation of it. But so for equipment, I mean, the first thing is when we got out there, I noticed that there were electromagnetic signals that shouldn't be there. So the first thing I did was got every spectrum analyzer that I could and every antenna that I could and put them on the ranch and started listening to what was happening. And we found all sorts of signals that shouldn't be there and can't figure out where they're coming from. Now, high-speed cameras, infrared cameras, night vision, we've seen so many things that you could see through infrared or night vision that you could not see with the naked eye on that ranch. That is the strangest thing to me. I mean, we've seen things in the camera, like standing out in the field 50 yards from us, but you can't see it with the naked eye, and you run out there and there's nothing there. So what is doing that, right? Is some magic technology spoofing our systems, making us see things that aren't there, or are the things really there? Either one's just as fascinating.
Well, you have so many cameras on site now. You have a lot of security cameras that catch things that appear, disappear. With a TV crew, you've got cameras there. Talk to us a little bit about these orbs that you see going in and out of the mesa. How do you describe that to somebody who's never seen the show before?
Wow. Well, to describe it, if you've never seen the show before, imagine there's this mesa that runs for miles. It's about 100 to 150 feet high, and it's fairly flat out there. It's
what we would call a hill with a flat top on it, right?
Yeah, it is. It is what we would around here, absolutely. But it's a really long hill,
right?
And it's rugged, and it's desert terrain, And so on the east end of the property, we were doing an experiment, and the helicopter was flying over us, and there was a camera. There were cameras connected all to the outside of the helicopter. Well, one of the cameras caught this during the experiment that was on the skid of the helicopter, that this orb, bluish white orb, not sure what size it is, but from analysis, we'd say it's anywhere from the size of a basketball to, say about 5 or 6 feet in diameter. And it comes out of the sky, just appears, up in the sky, probably several thousand feet, comes down, and looks like it crashes into the side of the mesa. And then half a mile down the mesa, it pops back out of the mesa and flies across the ground about 10 feet high. And we have no idea what that is, but it's a real thing. We checked to make sure it wasn't a camera glare or whatever, and it was not. There's no way to explain whatever this is except some transmedium phenomenon that flew from the sky and then through solid rock and dirt and then back out underneath the helicopter.
Well, that kind of goes back to how we started this. You've got hard video evidence. I mean, this is not something somebody saw and they're telling about it. You're showing it. And Travis, I'll tell you, one of the ones that kind of spooked me, Brandon Fugel, his brother, has a aviation company and flies a helicopter, carries you guys in and out of the ranch. And during one of the experiments, his ground radar, which the helicopter would use to know how close it is to the ground, y'all are several thousand feet up, and it starts saying you're about to hit the ground. And it looked like a malfunction. It spooked everybody. He landed. But you had high-speed cameras on this situation, and it appeared to show a distortion, almost like in the movie Predator, where you could see through it, but there was something there right up under the helicopter, exactly where the radar said the ground was supposed to be.
Yeah, well, so what we were trying to do is I measured, we all measured an anomaly using the antennas and various electromagnetic detection equipment that was looked like it peaked in energy, and it was a source floating in the sky at about 5,000 feet above a spot on the ranch we call the Triangle. And so we were flying a corkscrew spiral around this triangle going upwards to get to that 5,000 feet. And as we would get closer to the center where this anomaly was, and as we approached 5,000 feet, we started seeing this ground avoidance radar warning go off and saying there's something under you. Started out at 70 or 80 feet away, and that was freaky enough. But at one point it got to 39 feet directly under us. And that's when Cameron freaked out and said, look, either we're having a malfunction or there's something up here with us that shouldn't be there. And so we aborted and went and landed. And then you're right, we looked at the video from the cameras on the ground, and there was something, and I'm not necessarily sure that it's transparent because it was transparent, or if it's a rendering artifact of the camera, because it was not a high-speed camera. And so it was elongated also. But that means it was going much faster than the camera frame rate. And it flew literally directly under the helicopter, probably 50 feet or so, which would match what the ground avoidance radar was telling us. That really freaked Cameron out. And it freaked us all out, really, because you're up in a helicopter. You don't want something flying around you like that could mess something up.
Well, and I think you make a great point that a lot of people may not recognize. A camera is set up to get images that we're used to seeing and present them in a way so we can see them in the visible light pattern. But when it actually when it encounters things that are not in that framework of what it's designed to do, it produces alias information or bad information. But it's telling you that it's seeing something that it doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know how to encode it so that we can decode it on the viewing end. And I don't want to go the long way around and get too technical with that, but I think that's very important because we're seeing something that is not in our normal visible range and our normal time range of things that we encounter every day.
Yeah, that's right, Bubba. That's why we went to so many different types of cameras, to infrared cameras, to high-speed cameras. Now, at any given moment on the ranch, there's 60 cameras running of all different types, with multiple cameras looking at each at the same angle everywhere. And I'll tell you, one of the things that is most fascinating to me is we launched a rocket there from the Triangle and hit something on the first year, a big rocket, and it hit something at 30 feet, and the rocket exploded. Well, a year or two later, we were doing a similar experiment but this time we had a high-speed camera running, and this rocket got to 31 feet and exploded. And in the high-speed camera, we captured what we call the blob now. This thing, it looks kind of like if you took a Viking helmet with the horns and rotated it and made a solid out of it, almost like a sombrero or something, like it was sitting there in the sky. When I first saw it, I said it looked like Galactus, if you're any Marvel comic fans out there. But people thought, well, it's just an artifact of the camera. And we looked to make sure it wasn't. And then we found the same object in a camera that was 90 degrees from it. So the first camera caught it was looking due north. Second camera caught it was looking due west. And at the same moment, that object is there, and it looked identical from the east as it did looking at it from the south. So that's really fascinating. We know it was a real thing in the sky. What it was, I don't know. How could it blow that rocket up like that? And we've launched probably 200 rockets from that spot, and almost every time the rockets avoid going through that spot. They'll move out of the way and go around it. And that's something these rockets aren't designed to do.
I love the fact, when in doubt, you'll shoot a rocket at it.
Well, people laugh about that and say it's just for the show or whatever, but it's not. Think about it. We're talking about things in the sky, and they could potentially be harmful to aviation platform. And we need to get up to 5,000 feet or more at times. So what's the easiest way to do that? Rockets are pretty cheap compared to helicopters. Helicopters are like $5 million or something. And those rockets are like $100 or $200. The bigger ones, we did spend about 5,000 on one of the bigger ones. But that's the thing. The rockets the network, they believe that, the rockets are stimulating the UFOs to appear. I don't know that that's the case, but a lot of times when we've launched rockets, UFOs have appeared. But we launch a lot of rockets, so it could be statistical coincidence. But, that's fine with me. If the network wants to keep paying for rockets, I'll keep launching them.
We're talking to Dr. Travis Taylor from Skinwalker Ranch. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. More with Dr. Taylor in just a moment.
You're listening to Bubba. Whoa. Bubba on the Lake.
Attention business owners, print buyers, and production managers. Guaranteed Labels is here to help you focus less on your printing, labels, and decals, and more on growing your business. Guaranteed Labels, your dependable printer for all types of industries. Quality, on-time shipments, and stock programs set us apart. If you're needing to focus less on your printing and more on your business, trust Guaranteed Labels. 800-741-7055 or GuaranteedLabels.com. Guaranteed Labels, still sticking since 1988.
The perfect checking account does not exist. At least, not at a bank. At AmFirst, you can get no minimum balance or monthly fees, an instant issue debit card, and free checks with unlimited check writing. But who doesn't want more? Like a rewards program you'll actually use, and convenient digital tools that make it easy to manage your account from anywhere. That's what you'll find at AmFirst. Only available for qualifying members. AmFirst is federally insured by the NCUA.
It's Bubba on the Lake. Bubba on the Lake.
We're back with astrophysicist Dr. Travis Taylor from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. 6th season is about to begin this summer. Are you guys taping right now, Travis, or is it already in the can?
It's in the can, except for all of my voiceover stuff. That how between scenes there'll be like a transition line with me saying, "So we did this, and now we got to do that."
Right.
I'm still doing. We've done about half of those, and last year I finished them right before I had to leave to go back out to the ranch. So I'll be doing that up until probably late May, and then I think this year the show's they're gonna wait and let Oak Island finish its season, and then they're gonna start us in the Oak Island time slot. And that way, because what they've been doing is putting us later than Oak Island and then moving us down, and I think it was confusing to viewers.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to it. We'll definitely have a viewing party going here.
Let me tell you, Bubba. Let me interrupt you and tell you, you'll want to watch it because what we found this past summer is absolutely unbelievable, and it is something that, if it turns out to be what we think it is, will change the way we look at a lot of things historically, through physics and engineering, because what we found inside that mesa is absolutely unbelievable.
Travis, what a tease. I don't think I can wait now till June. I was actually telling somebody about your show this morning, Mark Snow, who's a friend of mine, and I was trying to describe it. And I caught myself, I thought, I sound like an idiot trying to explain all this, because if you have not seen it for yourself, it's hard to understand what you guys are doing and at the level that you're doing it. I want to ask you this. One of the technologies that you use is called LiDAR. Explain that a little bit and what you have spotted with that.
Oh my goodness. LiDAR has been one of the most amazing things that we've discovered. So a LiDAR is a laser imaging detection and ranging device. And so what it does is it sends a laser pulse out and then the clock starts. So imagine the laser pulse is a runner on the track, and you got a cone at the other end of the track, and you want to know how far away that cone is. And so you know how fast the runner runs. So you tell him to go touch the cone and come back, and you start the stopwatch when he leaves. When he gets back, you look at the time, you know how fast he ran. So then you can multiply that, his velocity times the time it took him, and it gives you the distance to the object.
Right. Laser measurement. Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're doing with the laser, but we're doing it at 400,000 points a second. So that's a lot of data, right? And so we'll run it for like 7 or 8 minutes at a run. So you can imagine we're getting hundreds of millions of points of data. And it maps everything because it's spinning in a 3D circle, spinning in a sphere like this, or hemisphere, and it's mapping everything around you. Well, on several instances with this LiDAR, we have a couple different types of LiDAR. Two of them mount on drones and can fly around stuff, and one of them is on a tripod, and one of them is a handheld. And so we run them all three simultaneously and have detected things, simultaneously with them. And the most amazing thing, so the first time the LiDAR revealed something, Omnitech, our guys that joined the team, an engineering firm that I've known, we knew them through the UAP task force, Jay Stratton and I did. So I introduced them to Brandon and the rest of the team. They brought a drone with a LiDAR out there. And while they were running it at the triangle where we saw this blob where the rocket hit this thing in the sky at 31 feet, right underneath where that blob was, all of the data was missing in a black, empty data hole in the middle of this image, and a big bright red ring of returns showed up around it in a perfect circle. And we looked to try to make sure there wasn't something causing that with the error in the LiDAR, and it wasn't. And so something this laser beam hit something, and it caused the beam to go somewhere else and not come back to the LiDAR, as if there was a hole in the sky right there in front of us. And it looks a lot like a projection of how they draw a black hole in movies. If you've watched Interstellar and how they showed that black hole, it looks like that.
So to put it in layman's terms, if you took a photograph of a group of people and right in the middle of the group there was a big black hole, that's kind of what the LiDAR is seeing.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, but now just imagine it's a 3D picture instead of a 2D picture like a photograph would be, and you've explained it exactly. So what caused the light to go somewhere else and not come back to the LiDAR? Well, and so we set the terrestrial laser scanner, the one on the tripod, up right there in the middle of the triangle where this black hole spot was in the data. We call it a data portal because the data was transported somewhere. Right. We can't actually, the network wants me to say it's a portal, but I said, no, we can't say it's a portal because I didn't see anything physically go away. But
who's going to volunteer to run and jump into it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, right. Well, me and Dragon argued about who was going first, but I remember my mom told me after that episode, we had one. I told Dragon, I said, "Man, if a portal opens up, I'm jumping through that dang thing." And my dad said my mom stood up and yelled at the TV, "Oh hell no, you won't!"
So Travis, what happens if you run and jump in this thing and you end up in 1940 or 1840 or something and have no idea how to get back? What do you do?
Or elsewhere, right?
Yeah, or somewhere else in the galaxy on a moon with no oxygen. What do you do?
Yeah, well, if it's there and it's an artificial thing, it's a daring do, kind of like in the TV series Stargate, right?
Yep.
Those guys had no idea how they were going to get back home and hope there was a machine on the other side that would turn the doorway back on, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the only hope you would have. I mean, otherwise you're in survival mode.
You can't really put a rope around you and hope they can pull you back, right? It doesn't work like that.
I'd certainly try that.
You want a real good cable, that's for sure. So that is just crazy. Another incident y'all had on one of the shows, one of your security cameras caught, you're looking at a field, there's nothing there, you have a frame, and there's a giant silver ball sitting there. And you still don't know what that was, right?
No idea. We only caught it in one or two frames, and it was out in the middle of the field. And with the view of the camera, we know the distance between the camera and the trees in the background are about 1,000, 1,500 feet away. And so the object was between the camera and that is all we can tell you. And so it could be as small as, say a marble, or it could be as big as a car. That's just the range that we can say that it is in size. But what it is, I have no idea. But it looks a lot like what's called the Mosul orb that was captured in Iraq at a forward operating base by military security cameras. And it looks just like that. If you go look up the video, Mosul Orb, Mosul Orb, and you'll see, and it looks just like what we saw at the ranch. So why are we seeing things like that around the world, and especially in Utah?
So the Mesa, and you have discovered some things with ground penetrating radar that appears to be under the Mesa. You have drilled into it. You have attempted to drill into it. You got fragments of metal that's used in the space shuttle that wouldn't be natural in the ground there. It's man-made stuff. Or let's just say, I don't know if man-made is the correct term. It's made by somebody somewhere.
Manufactured.
Yeah, something. So where are you at on the drilling? Are we going to see more of that in the next episode?
Oh, my goodness. You'll see more of that throughout all of season 6 because that was a major emphasis. We did more ground penetrating radar. We have more details of whatever this anomaly is inside the Mesa. It's a couple 100 feet long and maybe 60, 70 feet wide. Some places it's a little bigger, and it looks like, honestly, it looks like something crashed into the Mesa, and it looks like fragments of it spread out in a debris field. But how does something crash into a Mesa and do that, right? Now, possibly it was it'd have to be 50 million years ago when that part of the ground was at the surface level, and then it would be buried for 50 million years. But that doesn't really add up. You certainly wouldn't have metals there from 50 million years ago. At least we wouldn't have put them there.
So let's just play the assume game for a minute. We all know what that can lead to, but because we've got all this data laid out here on the table. What is your speculation? What are you dealing with? What do you think it possibly could be, or what do you think the evidence is pointing toward, even though you can't say absolutely yet?
Everybody always asks that, Bubba, and I got to tell you, I have to be really careful because as soon as I say what it is, somebody's going to say, "Oh, he believes in ghosts, or he believes in UFOs, or aliens, or whatever." But what I will tell you is, I don't know what it is, but I know it's something very, very interesting and unique. I don't believe it's just a new thing from Mother Nature. In fact, what we found this past summer, that you'll see in season 6, it's absolutely something that is manufactured. There are parts of what's part of this phenomena is that, and so we have running speculations. Eric and I'll sit around and come up with sci-fi explanations for things when we're not being like super serious about it. And one of our leading speculations is that it's a crashed spaceship or advanced craft of some sort. Maybe it's from some ancient civilization. Maybe it's from elsewhere, and it's stuck inside the Mesa somehow in an on position or something. And the computer AI is reaching out, trying to connect to people direct to their minds. If it worked with its crew that way, and that's why some people see weird things and have weird experiences and hear voices and see objects that other people don't see, is maybe the thing's trying to connect to them. It's looking for a pilot. That's just a science fiction possibility.
Yeah, well, look, that's
being something.
Yeah, you're playing with house money here. You gotta speculate.
Yeah, well, we speculate all sorts of things. You know, there are people that bring a religious aspect to it and say it's something religious that we shouldn't be messing with. Is there something we do know that Freemasons were there in the 1830s, all the way up through the early 1900s? What were Freemasons doing out there? Now, that's a very interesting thing. They were notoriously known for treasure hunting, for artifact hunting, religious artifact hunting. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, that is. Have you? I know you guys had a spinoff show with a couple of guys that were going and looking at other phenomena similar to this. Is that still going on?
Yeah, you're talking about Beyond Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did some more episodes of that will be airing this year, and found some really interesting stuff. And but you know, we found so much stuff at the ranch this year that we focused most of our time there and didn't have a lot of extra time. But they did find some interesting things, and that'll be fun to watch too when that comes out.
Have you had any more contact or any discussion with the previous owner of the ranch? I know the Bigelow family owned that, and they also were in the research of this, and then abruptly decided to sell it, and have been not wanting to communicate or work with you guys much. Any breakthrough on that front?
Well, we talk with the science team. We're friends with the science team that worked for Bigelow. Eric Davis is a colleague and friend, and I talk to him often. Eric Bard talks to them also. He talks to Colm Kelleher a lot. Now, and Jay Stratton, of course, was one of the guys who ran the program for the government. And Jay talks to Bob Bigelow all the time. So if I need to ask Bob Bigelow a question, I'll ask it through Jay, but he's very cautious because Bob doesn't like to talk about the ranch. And, that's on him. I mean, up to him. And I certainly understand it. There are people we've had on the crew that left and will never come back. So,
now what, you've had people leave and say enough is enough?
Oh yes. We've had sound people leave. We've had camera people.
So what,
leave.
did they get spooked or what?
I guess something spooked them. They said they'd never go back there. We've got a really good crew that's evolved, that's survived over the years, and I trust every one of them out there. They're really top notch at their job, and I really appreciate it. One of the things, Bubba, that we found at the end of season 5 with the terrestrial laser scanner in the middle of the triangle was that at 610 meters away, so that's about 1,800 feet or something, there was a bubble, a cone shaped or dome shaped bubble, like a force field over the ranch that was 610 meters in radius.
Wow.
And we spent a lot of time this past summer trying to see if that was just an artifact of the instrument or if it was real. And let me tell you, you're not going to believe what we found when it airs, because it's absolutely, it's unbelievable. It's like there really is some kind of force field over the ranch.
I am fired up for June right now. I don't know if anybody else is, but I am fired up. So, Travis, we'll let you go. I know you're on vacation. I appreciate you taking time to talk to us. Do you guys ever let, like, some of America's top podcasters ever come out and, record at the ranch, or what's the policy on that nowadays?
Well, if you want to come out to the ranch, Bubba, I'll get you out there. But, I know the last few times we've talked about the ranch, you've been hesitant about it. So,
well, I don't have a gallbladder anymore, so I ain't got to worry about that. How's your health?
I'm doing really well, thank you. I had I had that appendix scare last year right before going out there, and I had to have emergency surgery. But I've been watching what I eat and exercising like crazy, doing CrossFit stuff, and I'm in great shape, great health right now, and knock on wood, I hope it stays the same way.
No radiation issues or any of that.
No, after I have checks every so often to make sure, since I had that one scare, to make sure there's no signs of cancer, leukemia, or anything, and there's not any. I think that scare's over with, for at least unless it happens again. So,
now, which member was it? I can't recall, that had the knot on his head.
That's Thomas. Thomas Winterton.
Right.
Yeah. He's kind of like our canary now, because anytime he starts kind of scratching at that spot on his head, we think,
time to get out of here.
It's to get out of here, yeah.
Travis, thanks for talking to us. We'll be excited about June coming up. We'd like to get to talk to you again, if possible, before then, and we're very excited. Congratulations on the scientific data that you guys are producing. I feel like the TV show is kind of secondary at this point.
Oh, I agree, but it's the way that we get to show it to the public.
Yep. And that's been the missing part of a lot of investigations. I mean, everybody's got an eyewitness, but we all know eyewitnesses can be the worst data. You guys have got charted video, audio. I mean, you've got real documented stuff. And, one more thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go. You had some government helicopters buzzing you. Any more information on who that is? I know you even got the governor involved. Any idea what that was about?
No, and in fact, not only helicopters, but several different aircraft. We've had one that's a National Science Foundation jet flying over the ranch, doing like sensor push broom patterns, flying back and forth. You know how they'll push the broom on the gym floor to clean it after a ball game? They call that a push broom pattern, and the airplane has done this many times. And we called the National Science Foundation and said, who's in this? They said, we rent it to private companies, and we won't divulge who that is because it's proprietary information. So that's an easy way for them to they can come do something without telling us, right?
Right. Well, Travis, thank you so much. Astrophysicist Dr. Travis Taylor from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Travis will be in touch. Thank you for the information.
Thank you, Bubba. Enjoyed it.
You're listening to Bubba on the Lake.
Hit me bad.
A production of Intergalactic Pants and Tees.
You know one thing I love about Buffalo Wild Wings? You can get wings with any of their 26 sauces and dry rubs for takeout and delivery. That's like bringing an entire B-dubs home with you, which you can't do. I tried. I've knocked down so many walls, only to then be told to halt construction because I'm not zoned to be a sports bar. Kind of just looks like a big pergola or something because of the lack of walls. At least these 26 sauces and dry rubs are available to go. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
When you need urgent care, Southern Immediate Care is here for you. Illness doesn't follow a 9-to-5 schedule, so we offer support 7 days a week at convenient locations throughout Birmingham and Northeast Alabama, dedicated to serving all ages from children to adults. Southern Immediate Care offers occupational medicine services, including DOT physicals and testing. At Southern Immediate Care, your health is our top priority. Visit southernimmediatecare.com or call 205-409-2794.
It's Bubba on the Lake. Bubba on the Lake.
We're back, and she is back by popular demand. Our spirited child, my daughter, Katelyn Bussey. Hey, Katelyn.
Hi, what's up?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back.
Well, did you enjoy your first appearance on Bubba on the Lake?
I did a lot. It was really fun.
Yeah, we got a lot of good feedback.
Good. I'm glad.
We call you our spirited child, and we saw that pretty clear in that segment.
I love how y'all say that as if I'm not a product of you and Mom. Like, very similar to both of you in a lot of different ways.
Well, I certainly can see some of that, but you put it together in a combination that very few have ever seen before. So well, you told me on this podcast that you wanted to interview me.
I did. Well, everyone got to reintroduce themselves, and
yes.
I feel like it's a good time for you to reintroduce yourself. And,
okay.
It's your 61st birthday. We're celebrating this weekend, and I just have a few questions I wanted to ask you. It's not
wow,
gonna be
61 sounds so old.
Yeah, it is old.
You know, when I was a kid, I thought it was ancient. I thought you were old at 40.
I
thought
really
you
didn't
pretty
even
much
want to
were
celebrate my 25th birthday because I was like, I'm done.
Oh, I thought the 50th was bad. Whew, I'll take that in a minute now. All right, well, go ahead with your interview, Katelyn, and I will try to answer your questions to the best of my ability.
Okay, well, I feel like your audience knows you pretty well already.
They should.
Given 30 years on the air previously,
right.
And I know people say that all the time. They feel like they know, like, you and our family very personally. So these questions are a little different, a little deeper, maybe random, but I thought they were fun. So.
Okay, well, I'll reserve the fact or the right not to answer any of them, but go ahead.
All right, first one, keep it simple. Looking back at 61 years of life, what is one lesson you wish you had learned earlier?
I think that we all get ahead of ourselves. I think if you learn to, if you're a believer and you learn to walk by faith and you learn to wait on God's timing, I think you're way ahead of the game. I think most of us jump the gun. We're a lot like Abraham. We've got a promise of something better, but we want to help it happen ourselves. And really, it's an easier path if you'll just wait on God. But we all think that God wants us to help him out. And sometimes I've got ahead of that and caused myself some headaches. But overall, I think if you will be wise in the way of biblical teaching, I think you will come out ahead in the long run, even on this side of eternity.
So are you saying you wish you lived like that earlier, or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's several times in business and things I kind of, I probably pushed it a little bit, being, trying to move the needle and get ahead and start my life and get to where I wanted to be. And probably if I'd have just, took a time out, it would have got there on God's timing and with a lot less headaches.
All right, next question. If you could go back and relive one moment from your career, what would it be and why? From your career, outside of like marrying mom, obviously 1999, the best year of your life when I was born.
Right, that's standard.
Like,
everybody knows that.
Really just career moments.
I really, I can't say that I think I want to go back and do anything different. We're the product of the sum of everything that's happened. Certainly, I could have handled things better. There's been times that I've, said things or got mad about things I probably could have handled different. But I don't think there's anything I would go back and go, golly gee, I wish I would have took the left-hand road instead of the right-hand road. I think it's all kind of played out the way it was supposed to. I don't know, maybe get a little clearer operating agreement with our last gig on how that would end. That might help a little bit as opposed to a handshake deal. But overall, I don't really have any regrets.
Okay.
Not even one letter.
All right. What is the funniest or most embarrassing dad moment you can say you had raising Hunter and I? Is there a funny story that comes to mind when raising us, or something that Hunter or I did that you couldn't laugh about as our dad, but you and mom later on were like, hey, that was actually pretty funny?
Gosh, if I'd have thought about if you'd have given me an advance notice on these, I could have thought about these. Well, there was one, and I told the story when Hunter was little, and he was playing baseball. And he wasn't batting real good at the time, and I was trying to fire him up and kind of get those competitive juices going. And we were in a game, and the other team pulled in because they thought he's not going to hit the ball very hard or whatever. And I went up to first base line, and I basically said, look what they're doing. You need to stick it where the sun doesn't shine. And about the time I had my hand in the air, everybody was looking at me, and I thought, well, I probably could have handled that a little different, but point was a good point, and maybe I could have communicated that a little bit different.
All right, what do you think is some of the best advice or worst advice that you gave me growing up?
I think all the advice I gave you was great. I don't think any of it was bad. Do you recall some that I gave you that you think was bad?
No, I don't think any of the advice you gave me was bad. I think maybe my I don't even know, my application of that advice to my life was probably where that was lacking a little bit. But other than that, I feel like you're very smart, full of wisdom. I know that now that I'm almost 26.
Well, I think that's a sign you've grown up, because most kids go through a rebellious stage.
And I think I definitely did.
And I did too. And I realized at about 26 that my mom was really smart.
Yeah.
And if I would listen to her, but it kind of goes back to the other question you asked. Nothing that, my parents didn't want things to happen too quick. And a lot of times I wanted to move quick. And if I got things moving too quick, I usually got in trouble. And I think it's just a tendency you want to grow up quicker than you need to.
Yeah.
But it's like I told y'all when you were in high school and playing sports, and y'all wanted more money to spend and you wanted to get a job and all this, and same advice I got. My mom and dad both said, look, you got your whole life to work. Enjoy this time. Apply yourself to the sport or the hobby or whatever you're doing. Be the best you can be. Enjoy it, because it will be over one day. And even from my standpoint, there was a lot of days that we were on baseball fields or tennis courts, and it was hot, and it was terrible conditions, and you would give out, and mosquitoes and bugs and all that stuff, and you traveled, across the state to some tournament or something, and it seemed like it was a real kind of a loser moment at the time, but now I miss that. I'd
Yeah.
give anything to go back and do that. To be able to pitch a tent down at the Auburn Tennis Center and carry a generator and have fans and, all that fun stuff we used to do. At the time, it seems a little heavy and a little hard, but looking back, you miss it.
All right. These are where we're going to get a little more personal, okay?
How many more do we have?
Just a few, just a
Okay.
handful. I skipped a lot because you gave me a time crunch here.
Well, we can always have part 2.
Okay,
Hey,
so
trust me, we're going to have plenty of time. We got to do 40 shows this year. We're on number 5 or number 6. What is this, 5, 6? I can't remember.
what is, if you can say, your involvement with the United States government?
My involvement with the United States government is I am a taxpayer, and I feel like I have bought 2 or 3 Raptor jets. And I'm proud of that, and I'm a patriot, and I believe in paying your taxes, and I have done that a lot in my lifetime, a lot more than I ever thought I would ever do.
I want you to elaborate on maybe the friends you have in high places or certain things that you've been awarded for certain work you've done, not Rick and Bubba, or maybe even elaborate on like Rick and Bubba's success. Like I remember I went through a phase where I like genuinely thought you were maybe like a CIA human asset or something.
Oh yeah, we went through that.
None of it made sense.
Well, I probably fed that rumor in your mind
totally
a little
did.
bit just to have fun.
But I mean, having
Trust me. Can I clear the air right here? I'm not a CIA asset. Okay, in no way, no how.
I know you're not James
not
Bond.
even kinda.
I know that wasn't even a sell at all because physically I don't think we meet the criteria for that one. But I know you're very smart, and I know you have some certificate or it's like a thank you, basically a fancy thank you card from the Pentagon on something you did for them.
Well, I was parking cars and one summer, and they appreciated that.
Right,
It was carried out the trash a few times. And,
right.
No, I mean I've got to know a lot of people in a lot of industries, and from time to time I get called and ask a question, and I'll answer it the best I can. And nothing official. No, I'm not on the payroll or anything. So, I mean nothing big time. Just contractors and things that I do.
All right. Well, this is
question.
a good segue into that. Are you running for governor?
Katelyn, I am proud to announce I am running for governor here on the podcast. This is a big moment. We've all been waiting. No, I'm not running for governor. There's enough people running for governor.
Think you're making a mistake.
There's going to be, it's going to be like so many people running for governor. It's going to be like free ice cream. I mean, they're going to be lined up.
Here's the thing. I've seen firsthand, the lifestyle in D.C. that congressmen and senators have to live. And it's a hard life. It's definitely more of a sacrifice than I think people realize it is because you're away from your family all the time. You practically live in an airport and you're just all the time back and forth having to make an appearance somewhere or do something.
Right.
And,
back home. Yep.
I wouldn't ever want you to go through that. I don't think you would fare well. No offense. I know you like your space and you're very...
Yeah.
You don't like being told what to do, and you literally have to hire a whole staff to tell you what to do all the time. So,
who likes being told what to do?
Nobody, but I think that you would be a really good local government entity in some capacity.
Are you saying governor of the great state of Alabama?
I think you'd be awesome, and I think you could run a really
I could even
cool
talk
campaign.
like some of them,
I know, and we'll pause on that until further notice. Okay.
Let me say this. I don't have the desire to be an elected official. Do I want to help my fellow citizens any way I can? Yes.
But I feel like...
If I was drafted and they all voted me in, I would probably have to do it. And I think I could do a good job. Now, I might be the most hated man in Montgomery when I left, because I would be like Doge is now. I would go in and go, some of this crap we're doing is ridiculous, and we've been doing it for decades, and it ends today.
See, I think people
and that would make a lot of enemies.
Yeah,
I would have a lot of people wanting to cart me out, in a wheelbarrow.
I think that you would be pleasantly surprised.
But I'm
going to
tell you, I do think moms and pops who are trying to raise their family, we have a great state. I think we have so much going. I think we could do even more, and we could reach even higher heights than we have. And all along, I think if we demanded out of our government what we demand out of our football and basketball and baseball teams, we'd be in good shape.
Well, I think that you would be an ideal candidate only because I think the best politicians aren't in it because they grow up and they want to be a politician or they have these aspirations to like sit in this chair and have this title and wear this badge or whatever. I think, they're businessmen who've like seen how, the economy works and how the laws affect their business and things like that, or just in general, smart people like yourself. And I think you do a good job, and you already have the personality. The media training is like the hardest battle with some of these old farts. It's trying to get them in front of a microphone and say the correct things at the correct time.
Good. I've passed the old fart test. That's great. Here we go, Alabama.
The only reason I actually have that phrase on my mind is from Jerry's happy birthday video to you.
I know. That's funny.
Which
I love Jerry. Great guy.
More than anything.
He's an example of a smart guy who was very successful in private business and wanted to give back.
Yeah.
And he went and served in Congress for a term and then got caught up in all the district changes. And
he served 2 terms.
It's 2 terms and not going back. And I think that's a shame. He's a very smart man. And no offense to the people he ran against. There's some good people out there, too. But, I think he's an example of somebody who went and served, and now he's going to be back in his community doing other things. And, I think our state is better off for him doing that.
All right. 2 more questions.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep.
If someone were to write a book about your life, what would it be called?
Oh, it would be short. It would be called Betty Said.
Okay, that's funny. Okay, and last question, obviously, might even be the most important. What is your favorite thing, or what has been your favorite thing about raising me?
Raising you. Somehow, this interview's turned out a lot about you.
That is not true. Just one question.
My favorite thing about you is like what we're doing right now, just talking to you. You're funny. I enjoy you and Hunter's company both. You're both very funny. You're both very personable. You're different personality-wise, but you're funny. I tell you, my favorite thing in the world is sitting around with you and Hunter and Mom, and us just laughing about stuff.
So basically what we do every time.
Yeah, I like to laugh. I like to sit around and do that. And, being here at the lake now full time,
I really do think
it's a whole different. It's a whole different vibe.
Yeah,
it's a whole different vibe.
And I know, obviously, like different things have played into this, but you and Mom are so much more relaxed. Y'all seem happier. Not that y'all ever seemed unhappy, but Mom can be kind of stressed sometimes, like a little, you know. And it's like, why is she stressed?
She's got plenty of time to relax now.
Oh, she's had plenty of time for maybe the last 30 years.
Yeah, I started to say 27 years she's relaxed.
But
and, she's out of earshot, so we're not getting any feedback on that.
I think that y'all are a lot happier here. Not that like anything was wrong with Birmingham or whatever, but it also might be that like your kids are grown and you really don't have to worry about us anymore. But I think, or maybe you still.
Well, I think we're still worrying about you. We'll cover that in another podcast. No, I think when we say at the lake, that is a physical thing, but I think more than anything, it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. I know Florida's got a cute commercial where they say, living in Florida is not a place, it's a vibe. Mm-hmm. And I can relate to that here now because we just, one of the things I love about being here is you look at the water and you're relaxed and it's a great place to pray and look out and, people
it's very peaceful.
Yeah, and people will call and go, hey, what y'all doing for dinner? And we'll go, nothing. What you doing? They said, well, we ain't doing nothing either. Y'all want to get in a boat and go somewhere and eat? And you go, well, yeah. And that's about a 15-minute heads up.
Huge.
That's a 15 minutes heads
huge
up.
For you. Because growing up, and now I've inherited this a little bit, and I kind of hate it about myself a little bit, but I am so anal about getting somewhere on time. I mean, I'm ill as a hornet if people are late. And I know I inherited that from you because every time we go literally anywhere, we're getting in the car. We will be 30 minutes early. If you are on time, you are late. And,
well, that came from my dad.
And we will sit in the car and just talk until the place that we're going to opens because we will be the first people there.
Well, I had rather sit and kill time than be late. And I got that from my dad, who was a veteran. He was in World War II, fought in the Philippines against the Empire of the Rising Sun. And he was, he was all about the time. I mean, 4 o'clock meant 3:45. And you were there and you were ready to go. Yeah. And I don't ever remember being late for a practice of any kind or a ball game that I had control of. You know, sometimes it was out of my control when I couldn't drive or whatever. But I like being early. When I'm late, I feel terrible. I feel like I'm behind. I can't catch up throughout the day. So that has served me well, I think, in the jobs and getting up and being on time.
I think it served me well, too, professionally. I think it's something a lot of people don't have or struggle with or something. Are you okay? You coughing over there?
I am. I'm a little choked up.
Okay, wait. Actual last question, because that one was kind of a joke.
Okay. Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
Okay,
we're never going to get it published.
Last one. What is one thing you still hope to accomplish in your career that you have not yet?
Successful podcast from the lake. Doing the podcast has been a lot of fun because we've been able to actually get our hands dirty, so to speak. Yeah. A lot of times we would do things, we had Adler there to handle it or Speedy or somebody, and I've had to get back and get my hands dirty on a lot of these things, and it's been educational. I enjoy learning. I've always thought if you learn something every day, you never get behind, and I think some people get offended when they are asked to learn something new, like, I'm smart enough, I already know that, or I don't need that. I love learning new stuff. One of the things I'd like to learn is how to cook, and I know your mom will agree to that.
Yeah, I think she would, and she looks a little scared right now standing in the kitchen. If you would quit coughing, I could finish a thought.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I had the mute button pushed. Could you hear that?
Yes.
Sorry. Hey, Beth, will you hand me some water or something?
I like the
Thanks.
Unfiltered aspect of the podcast.
I know
when, different times where I would be on Rick and Bubba, I would almost be kind of a nervous wreck going on because I'm like, I don't know if I can say something or not because you have all these, huge audience. It's a live show, different advertisers, and I'm a kind of a loose cannon, so I like to.
Yes, you are.
I like to be able to just talk a little unfiltered in more of a relaxed environment. I think it's been fun.
I'm getting a drink. Sorry, everybody. We're not going to edit this out. This is the way it happened. Whew, that was good. Yeah, well, I understand. You have, you have FCC rules, and you have a lot of things you have to worry. And you do here, too. We probably don't need to get too relaxed that we start shooting from the hip here. But
I think definitely.
But it's a fun format, and, we're not tied to the time as much as we were. So, but we're going to have fun, and I like this segment. We'll do it again. Yeah. Katelyn asks questions.
I love it. Well, I love you, and I'm so happy to see another year of Bubba.
Katelyn, thank you. I love you too, baby. And I hope much success to you, and I hope you can eventually run for office yourself.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'd rather be the dad of the governor than the governor.
Right. We'll see about that.
Because I don't have to go and make all the speeches and all that.
I would rather be daughter of the governor.
And then I can just go and hang out and have fun, and nobody would stop me backstage.
Senior
I could
policy advisor.
Yeah, I could go where I wanted to go, So.
All right, well, love you.
Katelyn, thank you.
Gotta run.
We'll be right back and wrap up this session of Bubba on the Lake.
It's Bubba on the Lake. Bubba on the Lake.
Looking for that beautiful quilt or other fabulous gifts? Check out Ann's Quilt and Country Store in Rogersville. Come see Miss Kim for all your quilting needs. She does custom quilts, memory and t-shirt quilts, and will also quilt your quilt top. There are gifts for women, babies, and even knives for the menfolk. Visit Miss Kim at Ann's Quilt, 1614 Lee Street in historic downtown Rogersville, Alabama. Call 256-483-2276 or search the store on Facebook and Google.
This is Coke Zero Sugar. Could I be the best Coke ever? Try and taste with your ears. Hear those bubbles? Imagine them tingling on your tongue. Fizzy deliciousness. Listen to that cascading liquid. A mouth-watering waterfall. Irresistibly tasty. Zero sugar. Crisp, refreshing, and ice cold. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try and decide.
It's Bubba on the Lake. Bubba on the Lake.
Well, we have certainly had a busy show. I want to thank Dr. Travis Taylor from Skinwalker Ranch, or The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, for being with us. I want to thank my daughter Katelyn for her captivating and intriguing interview we had today. I'm sure we will hear more of that in the future. I do want to remind you to check out our website, bubbaonthelake.com. We have a new feature that we're about to activate called the message line. You're actually going to be able to call and leave messages, and we may play those back on the podcast. So that'll be interesting. I'll tell you more about that in the future. Also, remember to subscribe, like, turn on notifications on all of our podcasts and social media outlets. Folks, I cannot emphasize enough how much that helps for us to move up the rankings and help with advertisers. Very big. Also, we want you to follow us on our Instagram page, Bubba on the Lake. Thank you again, and until we sail into port next time, thank you for being part of Bubba on the Lake.
You're listening to Bubba on the Lake.
Hit me bad.
A production of Intergalactic Pants and Tees.
All rights reserved.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Coke, First, Buffalo Wild Wings, Southern Immediate Care, Central State Bank, and Guaranteed Labels.
You know one thing I love about Buffalo Wild Wings? You can get wings with any of their 26 sauces and dry rubs for takeout and delivery. That's like bringing an entire B-dubs home with you, which you can't do. I tried. I've knocked down so many walls, only to then be told to halt construction because I'm not zoned to be a sports bar. Kind of just looks like a big pergola or something because of the lack of walls. At least these 26 sauces and dry rubs are available to go. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.